And I'm going to go ahead and grab Wiki for a second because it does present a good summary, which shows that Brett Keane incorrectly quoted Hitler. So share screen. Religious views, Adolf Hitler, Wikipedia. Okay, make this a little bit smaller. I kind of don't know how much of this I want to cover. There's a lot here. All of it is damning against the fundamentalist idea of who Hitler was. Going down, I'm looking for the quote that he shared. Come on, there we go. There it is. Transcript from Table Talk, 14th of October, 1941. In an entry concerning the fate of Christianity, Hitler says, "Science cannot lie, for it's always striving, according to the momentary state of knowledge, to deduce what is true. When it makes a mistake, it does so in good faith."
Check. Testing.
It's Christianity that's the liar.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Now, here
4.
at this
Testing,
point
1, 2,
in
3,
his
4.
professional endeavors, he has become disillusioned with Christianity. As the tides began to turn against him, and more churches decided to go ahead and stand against him instead of with them, or instead of being passive, it upset him, right? He's like, hey, now, I thought we were all buddies.
Check.
Right?
Yeah,
Even most of my armies are Christians. You guys have been either passive or supportive. Most of you, the few that haven't, I have to take care of, right?
Are going down.
Like,
please
what's with this shit turning the tides against me, right? He didn't like it. So he started to get an attitude. See, so it's Christianity that's the liar. It's in perpetual conflict with itself.
Testing 1, 2, 3,
Religion
4.
will crumble before scientific advances, says Hitler. The dogma of Christianity gets worn away before the advances of science. Religion will have to make more and more concessions. Gradually, the myths crumble. All that's left is to prove that in nature there is no frontier between the organic and the inorganic. When understanding of the universe has become widespread, when the majority of men know that the stars are not sources of light, but worlds, perhaps an inhabited world like ours,
right? Like you can't really hear the mic over there,
doctrine will be convicted of absurdity. So he got parts of the quote correct, but he got some pretty important parts of it incorrect when he quoted it, and I don't think that was an accident. So
check 1, 2. Let me hear how it sounds.
To go back to what he says, I mean, if you go back and look at the quote that Brett Keane offered, it's just not the same words. Some of it's the same words, but he carefully changes a few words and leaves a few out to create a different kind of idea.
Love you, baby.
But here's where it gets even more interesting. Make sure that this is still tracking when I move down the screen. It's not going to let me switch tabs. There we go. All right. Hitler feared the collapse of the pact with churches leading to conversion to atheism, which he equates to the state of the animal.
Talking about it,
so here, Hitler, when he offered this quote at Table Talk, wasn't proposing atheism. He wasn't claiming atheism. He wasn't endorsing atheism. To the contrary,
check.
He was endorsing theism.
Check.
But
check.
Moving away from Christianity.
Check.
Admitting to this
testing
other idea about Christianity. Hitler was worried that as his agreement with the church collapsed, that it would lead to people becoming atheists. He equated atheism with the state of being like an animal. He says, I'm convinced that any pact with the church can offer only provisional benefits.
Yeah, I want to leave it there. I don't want to.
So he already has pacts with the churches, but now he's starting to second guess the whole idea. Because if he can't count on it and it crumbles, then he's worried that all that investment people have made into the churches will cause them to feel disillusioned by the churches as they see the churches fall away from supporting Hitler. And he worried that that would lead people to atheism. He says, for sooner or later, the scientific spirit will disclose the harmful character of such a compromise. Thus, the state will have based its existence on a foundation that will one day collapse. So here he is saying that he's now questioning whether or not it's a good idea to continue for his
I think I'm cute.
The state.
I know I'm sexy.
To continue to exist on a Christian foundation, which is what he built it upon. He's starting to second guess this. He's like, you know what? Maybe this isn't such a good idea.
I've got the look that drives the girls
were starting to turn against him, and he wanted it to be his idea to turn against them. They were letting him down, and it made him realize, hey, if they continue to fall away from the Reich, if they continue at this pace, they'll eventually crumble, because people will, in his view, expect the people to remain faithful, most people to remain faithful to the Reich. He says, an educated man retains the sense of mysteries of nature and bows before the unknowable.
While I got the moves that really move them, I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. Let's go, y'all ready to do this tonight? I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I make them hot. I make them shiver. I am so sick and these get weak. Whenever are y'all ready to go? It's late night time. Hear me talk. I make them feel like they're on cloud nine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy.
An uneducated man, on the other hand, runs the risk of going over to atheism. See, Hitler himself right here saying that an uneducated man is the one who risks becoming an atheist, which he equates to being like an animal. As soon as he perceives that the state, in sheer optimism, is making use of false ideas in the matter of religion. Right. So Hitler's like, look, if people start to realize that the state is based on the false ideas of Christianity, and they begin to lose faith in God as a result, then they might become atheists, right? And so if Christians can't hold up their end of the deal, right? If they compromise on what he believed to be a spiritual quest, then he was worried that that would disillusion people so much about Christianity that they would default to atheism. And he started to think, that's
check.
pretty
Testing,
dangerous.
1,
Maybe
2,
the Reich
3.
shouldn't
Testing,
be
1, 2, 3.
resting on a foundation of Christianity. Whilst in other fields, it bases everything on pure science, right? Because Hitler's recognizing that science has legitimacy that Christianity doesn't. And so he's like, if you have science without theism, then you have rational atheism. But he saw that as animalistic. But if you have science with theism, then that might be safer. That might keep people nested in the idea of God. And so that's what he wanted to convert his Reich over into, away from a Christian foundation over to a more general theism, so that he wouldn't risk people being disillusioned with theism and deconverting to atheism. He says, that's why I've always kept the party aloof from religious questions. Right? It's why he's played the game the way that he has, in other words. So according to Table Talk, Hitler believed that Jesus' true Christian teachings had been corrupted. See, now Hitler's not disowning Jesus here. And Hitler is still recognizing there is such a thing as true Christian teachings. But he's starting to believe now, he's starting to say that they've been corrupted by St. Paul, who had transformed them into a kind of a Jewish movement, which Hitler believed preached equality of all men amongst themselves and their obedience only to God. This is what caused the death of the Roman Empire. So here he's making a political statement about the effects of bad religion on the political societal structure of a nation or of a world, right? No matter how much you zoom out, like when people have a bad relationship with God, it results in a bad relationship with each other. So he wanted to return to what he saw as the true Christian teachings before St. Paul corrupted them. No, I'm absolutely not endorsing Hitler's interpretation of Bibles at all. My only point here is to show that Hitler wasn't endorsing atheism, as Brett Keane and others have suggested. Hitler remained atheist. It's just that Hitler's views about what Jesus intended, or what the true Christian teachings are, continued to shift, right? Now, he phrased it in such a way where they weren't shifting. He always believed that the churches got it wrong. He just didn't call them out for it. And now he's wishing he had, right? And now he's thinking it's time to call them out for it. So, that's a matter of interpretation. Is Hitler's beliefs changing? Or is Hitler becoming more honest about what his beliefs are? In either
Hitler
event,
believed in space, Jesus.
Absolutely not becoming an atheist. And so if anybody wants to go ahead and read the rest of the wiki article and then follow down with the links at the bottom, I invite them to do so.
I bet Richard Madsen would say he did.
Kata, how are you tonight? It's great to see you.
I'm going to let Tam out real
Cameron
quick and then get ready to start the late night show.
Have I missed anybody? Don't think. Oh, Stupid Horror Energy. He once said Evos believe we evolved from chimps. Yeah, he had some... I mean, yeah, he was an interesting character. Jehovah's Witnesses got green triangles. Yep, they did. So the Jehovah's Witnesses were one of the religions that stood against Hitler from the very start. They didn't have to wait for the tides to turn so they could follow the leader like most of the churches. From the very, very front, they stood against him. But they had already laid a foundation for that. They were already anti-war, anti-government, and had a different idea about the kingdom than most churches. But the ugly thing about it was that the Jehovah's Witness leaders threw their people to the Nazi wolves. They threw them to them. They encouraged their followers to take a very visible, audible, physical stand against Hitler. And instead of saying, hey, you should get out of that territory, we'll help you get away from it, they're like, stand your ground, and consider it a joyous honor to be imprisoned by Hitler if that's what happens, right? Stand defiant as a witness to the world. Well, that's easy enough to say for religious leaders that get to stay in safety in Brooklyn, New York, right? They can say that all they want to from the safety of a country on the other side of the ocean, to tell their followers that are in the occupied territories and in the nearby threatened territories to go ahead and stay where you're at and just stay defiant against Hitler, right? And even as Hitler began to capture them, and even when Hitler began to kill them, they were just encouraging martyrdom, right? As a way to generate PR for their religion. Look at how many of our people are willing to die to defy Hitler. Therefore, can't you see how righteous we are, right? This is exactly what the mainstream churches did in their early centuries, where they intentionally put themselves in harm's way. Not the leaders, but the followers. The leaders in the early Christian church remained in safe places. They did not volunteer to become martyrs. They did not. Christians say that their leaders did, but they did not. And in fact, we've discussed that before on Mythvision more than once. Candida Moss and others have talked about this history ad nauseum. I'm like, look, what even Bart Ehrman has. They're like, what Christian fundamentalists say about the early centuries of Christianity and how the original patriarchs of their religion, as seen in the New Testament, died as martyrs for the cause. It's just bullshit. That's not what happened. But later on, there was a wave of murders that were happening from the Christian churches. It didn't last for many centuries. It was a fairly short-term wave in the span of history. But it did happen because the leaders were like, hey, we can get a whole lot more people to take our religion seriously if somebody's dying in the name of our religion. And they looked around and they saw that happening with other people too, whether it's a formal religion or sort of a quasi-religion like Stoicism. If you can get people to sacrifice, to martyr themselves in the name of your theology or your philosophy, then it becomes more respectable in the eyes of the common man. Once people see that you're willing to sacrifice yourselves for it, they think, wow, there must be something to that if you're willing to die for it. But their leaders weren't willing to die for it. They're like, yeah, we're going to stay safely over here while you guys go prove how righteous you are by throwing yourself on Rome's sword, right? It's that kind of a thing. It's the same thing that Muslim jihadist leaders do. They say, hey, Allah's going to reward you if you go strap on some explosives and go get yourself killed in the name of Allah while we remain safely over here cheering you on, right? And it's just a way to convert violence into capital, into social currency. They can call that a pacifist movement if they want to, but that's not true pacifism. So that's what was happening. Who else we got here? B.S. Lewis really had me cracking up today with your short that song about Rebekah and Sal. That was brilliant, B.S. I really needed that laugh today, man. So Willie Ignorance says, my doctor growing up had the tattoo on his wrist from being a Holocaust survivor. He was my hero. Yeah, man, anybody that survives that, props to him. Yes. BS says, I don't have to worry about being a psychopath. No one would accuse me of being mature. Fair point. Nidimus says lots, if not most, early martyrdom accounts and details of narrative structure that match their immediate community. It's not uncommon to have the same murder with different stories by religion. Right, so they're just copy-pasting and changing the details. Hey, Jay, how are you? That's awesome. Nidimus says,
all right, I think we're caught up. I'm going to get dressed real quick, and then we'll get ready to start the live stream.
Sainted, but only in a region
where we can actually go into the Saturday night room if you want.
And so here's part of the ugliness of that.
Yeah, I'll go, Seth.
One of the things that the Christian
Hey, are there 13 documents for Biden?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's make sure I know the right number. Wait, what?
Down here, Joel.
In just the last, President Biden's personal attorney, Bob Bauer, released a statement in just the last, a little over an hour, saying that the Justice Department conducted a search of the Wilmington, Delaware home and found additional materials with classified markings. Now, Bauer stresses that this search was done in coordination with the president's personal attorneys. Both the personal attorneys and lawyers from the White House counsel's office were on hand for that search. Sources also told us that it was specifically conducted by the FBI. And what Bauer said is that they opened up the home for this search that included a search of the living, the working, and the storage areas in Wilmington, Delaware.
Oh, Lord. I didn't realize.
When was that?
2 hours ago.
Oh, my God. I don't know if I can find any more documents.
No, you're good. You're good. We've got enough. I just don't know. I was just hoping to find a story from a couple days ago or something, but it's like he just keeps.
Jesus Christ.
he just keeps coming up with more. Yeah. More documents.
I'm sure Fox is having a fucking field day with this shit.
Oh, no. This guy. Well, shit, we've never been huge Biden fans, so shit, they could get rid of Biden. You're not gonna get no complaints from me. All right, there. Do that first. All right, and then I think that's it. All right, let's do everything else. Oh, fuck, I didn't do this damn thing. Might take me a minute. All right, let's see. Work. Let's do this one. All right. It's fine. I'll use the soundtrack. That's fine. All right. I'll just turn up a little bit. Yeah, it's fine. All right, let's go with the. Yeah, give me that. Give me a long run.
In Dublin, and he's got.
Airplane mode. Ready for takeoff? You are now
That is good. Leave that there. It's there. I actually want to close this. And that. I need to open the stream avatars. What the heck? I've never seen it do this. All right, I guess I'll deal with it tomorrow then. That was weird. All right, there we go. Python 3, something. MQ, yep. Few conditions, 10 jobs. You know what? I can't. I have to do /maven f settings *-s. 1,000, 10,000, 1,001. Looks good. $1,000 for 0. No walls. Group size. I think I already saw that. Food, geometry, group, 1,000, perfect. All right. D. All right, gang, I'll be back. I'm going to put on a video for a little bit just because I got to use the restroom and change and shit, and then we'll be almost ready to go.
Cool.
I don't know what the hell to put on.
I'm Ben Meiselas from the Midas Touch Network. The criminal seditious conspiracy trial in federal court in Washington, D.C. against the terrorist group known as the Proud Boys is underway. Opening statements took place on Thursday. James McCullough, the Assistant United States Attorneys representing the prosecutor's office in this prosecution of these 5 terrorists, Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the terrorist network, Ethan Norton, Joseph Biggs, Zachary Rell, and Dominic Pizzola. Tarrio was the only one not there during the January 6th insurrectionists. The others some of them were violent insurrectionists who were seen on TV, charging Officer Goodman. I mean, you see these terrorists engage in these despicable acts, and the prosecutors have their hands on not just these absurd and disgusting statements that these individuals made publicly, but they also got their hands on private Telegram chats where these terrorists were bragging about the insurrection and taking down the government and taking down Biden. And guess what? The prosecutor began playing and showing all of the messages and videos of these individuals at trial for the jury in the opening statement. James McCullough did an incredible job in his opening statement going through those chats, and it's kind of slam dunk, smoking gun evidence. One of the other things that the prosecutor played during the opening of note was Donald Trump's statement during the debate with President Biden, where Trump said to the Proud Boys, "Stand back and stand by," and said how that influenced the Proud Boys, who responded. Enrique Tarrio said, one of these social media platforms, he goes, "I'm standing by right now," and Joseph Biggs responded, like ready for the call for action. The prosecutor said is, quote, "You will see private communications. You will see their public statements. You will see their coordinated actions. You will see their celebration of the group's activities and an attempt to cover up their tracks. You will know by the way they took direct aim at the Electoral College certification that this was the result of an agreement," the prosecutor went on to say, led by Enrique Tarrio. "These men joined together and agreed to use any means necessary, including force, to stop Congress from certifying the election. On January 6th, they took aim at the heart of our democracy." And one of the things that McCullough also pointed out is one of the things that Tarrio said was, quote, "If Biden steals this election, the Proud Boys are going to be political prisoners. We won't go quietly, I promise." And then there are other messages from them saying, "Go effing do it. Go check out the Capitol." There's like messages that lay out like the plot, essentially minute by minute. And then afterwards, like Ethan Norton bragged, "I was part of the effing storming of the Capitol in the most powerful country in the effing world. If you're going to lecture me on what's important right now, shut the F up." I mean, statements like that. You have Rell, one of the other defendants. "I'm proud as F at what we accomplished yesterday. We lost our country. We should have held the Capitol." Then Biggs, "We're going to have a civil war now. Firing squads for the traitors that are trying to steal this election from the American people." And part of the seditious conspiracy plot is their effort literally to overthrow our democracy, the coordinated effort that was made there. And look, the prosecutors have successfully prosecuted the other terrorist group, the Oath Keepers. Their 2 top leaders were convicted of seditious conspiracy counts, like Stuart Rhodes. Going to be serving a very, very, very long time in prison. The seditious conspiracy count, 20 years in prison, obstruction, 20-year prison. These people may be facing jail, likely facing jail for the rest of their life. And when you go through the arguments being made by the terrorist groups here, that these Proud Boys, they fall into a number of categories. Some of them blame Trump, and they say it's Trump's fault. You don't see Donald Trump here. That's one of the points of attack there, that they try to basically say, look, this wouldn't have happened if Donald Trump was there. Donald Trump's not a trial. That's what Enrique Tarrio said. He goes, quote, "President Trump told these people the election was stolen. Trump told them to go there on January 6th. And it was Trump in his speech on January 6th that unleashed this mob. But he's not here on trial today. It was Trump and Trump alone in his speech on January 6th that unleashed this mob. Again, where is he? He's not on trial today." Repeating that over and over again during the opening statement. And what Enrique Tarrio's lawyer tried to argue to the jury is really what happened here. He says Tarrio is being scapegoated here. This is all. One of the other defendants, lawyers over here took a little bit of a different approach and said, this is a guy named Attorney Roger Roots, who did the Pizzola opening statement. Now, Pizzola smashed 2 of the Capitol windows with a riot shield, which ignited one of the breaches of the Capitol. I mean, Pizzola was one of the first people in there. This is what Roots said. He goes, this entire case is about a 6-hour delay of Congress from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. It's just 6 hours here. That's all that took place. And he goes, yeah, it may look pretty bad, but at the end of the day, how could this be obstruction? He also says, what my client didn't commit robbery here. What are you talking about? There's no real crimes at issue. That's basically what Roots does, and very, very, very. And they kept playing this weird video of like Roots in the Capitol, like committing the crime. And then the lawyer went to the jury and said, this is the not guilty video. When you render your not guilty verdict, this is what I want you to show everyone. This is the not guilty video. Like very, very, very strange opening statement by Pizzolo's attorney. And as you go through all these other, opening statements, I mean, some very strange things. The first witness to testify was on Friday, Thomas Lloyd, a Capitol police officer. And he basically said that thanks to the bravery and courage of Eugene Goodman, the Capitol police officer who directed the insurrectionist away from the members of Congress, that if the insurrectionists went where they were originally heading, there were armed Capitol police officers and Secret Service agents who were protecting the members of Congress. So if they got through, there would have been a gun battle. And Eugene Goodman saved that from happening. So there you have it, folks. One other thing to mention, Joe Biggs his lawyer didn't give an opening statement. They deferred the opening statement. They don't have to give an opening statement. And so there you have it, but one of the most interesting things there is the lawyer accusing Donald Trump. I mean, for Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the Proud Boys. Like, are you kidding me? I think one of the things the prosecutors have done also, they've watched what worked. One of the things I noticed, they watched what worked during the Oath Keeper seditious conspiracy trial. And here, noting that the jury really related to these encrypted messages, the heavy focus here was showing this jury those telegraph messages where the people were admitting essentially to being terrorists, to the seditious conspiracy. And then you just had a bunch of really weird and bizarre lawyers representing these Proud Boys, and then Tarrio's lawyer blaming Trump. So we're going to keep following this case. Goes back in action on Tuesday. So we'll keep you posted here, of course, on the Midas Touch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your support. And check us out at patreon.com/MidasTouch. You'll love the content on Patreon, and it helps grow this independent platform. Till next time, I'm Ben Mycelis.
At Midas Touch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.midastouch.com. That's store.midastouch.com.
And finally, new rule. Well, not a rule, but a big thank you for all the birthday wishes today from everybody out there. I really appreciate it. But thank you very much. But birthdays and vacations are over now, and someone has to explain George Santos. Someone has to explain this phenomenon. In case you've been living under a rock, or you live here in California and your rock washed away. George Santos is the newly elected Republican House member from Long Island who Pinocchio'd his way into Congress and who represents a growing segment of American society, liars. Now, if you're sort of hazy on the details of Santos's life, don't worry, so is he. When they film his biography, it'll start with, based on a false story.
This guy lied about his schooling, his career, his sexuality, his charity work. What kind of family raises a person like this? We don't know because he lied about them too. He lies like a goose shits. If he's not doing it at the very moment, he's about to. He said he attended the prestigious Horace Mann Prep School. They have no record of him, nor does NYU, where he said he got an MBA, or Baruch College, where he falsely claimed to have graduated in the top 1% of his class and starred on the volleyball team. I would say you can't make this shit up, but he just made this shit up. And it raises a lot of questions, starting with, if you're gonna lie, why volleyball? He also claimed he ran an animal charity that neutered 3,000 stray cats. He didn't, but again, what a strange thing to brag about. He literally lied about cutting off cats' nuts, and that takes a lot of balls. But, okay. Here's the explain part. Don't think Santos isn't pioneering something new in American politics. Of course, we've seen liars before, but it was always about tacking from the extreme to the center of your own party. What Mitt Romney called shaking the Etch-a-Sketch. But Santos is the first one to realize that since we are all in our hermetically sealed media bubbles now, you can pretend to be everything to voters in both parties. And no one on either side will notice. Some of Santos's lies appeal to the far-right Republicans, like being all in, as he was on Trump's election denying, or making the white power sign in the halls of Congress, or claiming he was a Wall Street wonderkind who made millions working at Goldman Sachs, which he didn't, or that he was a luxury yacht broker, which he wasn't. The giveaway here is that Santos's district is Long Island, New York, suburb of Manhattan, not as liberal, but almost always went Democratic. Biden won it by 8 points. So how did a Trump-loving, election-denying white nationalist get elected in a Democrat-leaning district? Simple. He told them what they wanted to hear, too. What do liberals love? Identity politics and victimhood. So he said he had a brain tumor. And he was one of the first New Yorkers hospitalized for COVID. He said he lost 4 coworkers in the famous Pulse nightclub shooting in 2016. He's from Brazil, which is overwhelmingly Catholic, but when he ran in New York, he said he was Jewish. And in fact, his grandparents fled Ukraine to escape the Nazis. That's right, his Jewish Ukrainian forefathers escaped the Holocaust by being born Catholic in Brazil. His immigration policy is we must stop people like me from getting into this country. Also, he claims to be half black. Although I doubt that's the half that wears a blazer with a fleece vest. Oh, and he's gay. Of course. Or at least he is, since he divorced the woman he was married to 2 weeks before the campaign started. Oh, yes, George knows where the sweet spots are with Democrats, too. He once said, "I'm very much gay." What does that mean, very much gay? You have a blue check mark on Grindr? Everybody keeps asking, how could a guy like this get elected? I'll tell you how, because no one cares anymore about substance. It's all tribalism. The only thing that matters is he on our team? Is he doing our shtick? Santos is just the first one to realize you could do both sides' shtick and get away with it because people have completely tuned out anything that doesn't already fit their narrative. Republicans love a winner, and Democrats love someone whose life story makes you want to kill yourself. For Republicans, George claimed he went to the Capitol on January 6th. Yes, he personally attended the insurrection and has tweeted hashtags like "Dems are destroying America." But that obviously didn't matter to plenty of Democrats in his district. What mattered is that he's a brave, sad, proudly gay, half-black Latino Holocaust victim. With a brain tumor. Vote for him. I'm surprised they didn't have him host the Oscars. Yes, everyone saw in George Santos what they wanted to see. Republicans saw a Trump-loving rich prick. Democrats saw a proudly gay person of color. And the Proud Boys saw a guy who would blow them after a couple of beers and not tell any. And finally, new rule. Well, not a rule, but a big thank you for all the birthday wishes today from everybody out there.
I'm Ben Mycelis from the Midas Touch Network. The criminal.
Tonight, former President Trump is lashing out at legendary journalist Bob Woodward for releasing more than 8 hours of raw audio from 20 interviews Woodward recorded with Trump for his new audio book. Bob Woodward is standing by live there. You see him. We'll discuss in just a few moments. But first, here's CNN's Tom Foreman with more on the very revealing tapes.
Mr. Woodward, the president.
Hi, Bob.
The calls came at all hours on all subjects.
Nobody that's tougher than me. You asked me about impeachment. I'm under impeachment, and you said, you just act like you just won the fucking race.
Sometimes full of profanity, bitterness, and bragging.
I have this reputation of not being willing to apologize. It's wrong.
Yeah.
I will apologize if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
This conversation.
When's the last time you apologized?
Oh, I don't know, but I think over a period. I would apologize. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm never wrong. Okay.
Then relaxed, entertaining, and occasionally alarming.
I have built a weapons system that nobody's ever had in this country before. We have stuff that you haven't even seen or heard about. We have stuff that Putin and Xi have never heard about before.
Unsurprisingly, just as he has in public, Trump praised the Russian president.
I respect Putin. I think Putin likes me. I think I like him.
But he was equally effusive about North Korea's leader.
The CIA says about Kim Jong-un that he's cunning, crafty, but ultimately stupid.
I disagree. He's cunning, he's crafty, and he's very smart.
Why does the CIA say that?
Because they don't know, okay? Because they don't know. They have no idea. I'm the only one that knows.
As for the danger of Kim launching missiles at the U.S. or American allies...
If he shoots, he shoots, and if he shoots, he shoots. He's got big problems, let me put it that way. Big problems.
Underlying it all, Trump's seemingly unshakable faith in his ability to judge people.
The word chemistry. You meet somebody and you have a good chemistry. You meet a woman. In 1 second, you know whether or not it's all going to happen.
Trump went on at length about his power, popularity with his base, and ability to run rings around old Washington.
In the history of politics, there's never been fundraising like I'm doing.
About the COVID-19 pandemic and a conversation about it with his youngest son.
So he was 13 in the White House upstairs in his bedroom. He said, Dad, what's going on? And I said, it came out of China, Barron. Pure and simple. It came out of China, and it should have been stopped. And to be honest with you, Barron, they should have let it be known it was a problem 2 months earlier, and the world would now, we have 141 countries have it now. And I said the world wouldn't have a problem. We could have stopped it easily.
But there was one topic that seemed to stop him. At the time, the upcoming 2020 election and his real chance of losing, as he did.
Everyone says Trump is going to stay in the White House if it's contested. Have you?
Well, I don't want to even comment on that. Though.
Sure.
I don't want to.